Hey y'all, welcome to my quilt coat sewing pattern where I walk you through the steps of my quilt coat pattern. The whole point of this video is just to get the quilt coat made and hopefully have something like this in the end. This is the goal. So let's get into it. This is our pattern. No taping, no printing. How nice is that, guys? I am going to be using this mini pattern for the sake of the tutorial. I just feel like it's easier. Okay, so this is a quilt pillowcase, but we're going to pretend like it is a quilt, all right? Like this is an actual full blanket. So once you have all of your pieces cut out, I like to start with the front piece. Now, placement is everything in this pattern. It really makes or breaks the coat. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our front piece and we're going to line this part up with the corner. We're going to line it up in the corner of the quilt so that the border is along this line and the bottom, just like that. Okay? Now that you have your front piece placed on your quilt, you're going to cut it out. Ta-da! I'm going to take this piece, flip it over to the other side, just like that. So we're making a left and right front pieces. And it looks like this when you're done. You want to take your back piece and place the bottom along the border of the quilt. Find a place for it. I think it would be really cute if the back had this piece in it. So you just line the bottom up against the border, just like that. Okay? And then you're going to cut. Giving you this. I'm going to take our sleeve pattern and put it against the border. At this point, you'll have to find, you can put it against just anywhere that there's space. Just make sure that the edge lines up with the border and you can cut. You're going to cut two of them and it'll look like this. And I just want to show you real quick why lining your pattern up on your quilt along the border is so cool, because these are our front pieces right here. And this is our back piece. And look how beautiful they line up. Look how cohesive that looks. It's just beautiful. And then when you add the sleeves, guys, look how cool that looks. So not only does it give you this like really beautiful put together look, but it gives you less work to do because you don't have to sew any of these borders, which is very nice. I'm going to cut one piece of the collar right here so I get some of this design in it, and then I'm going to cut another piece right here for the bottom. And this is what it looks like. It's really fun to get fun with the pockets. I want to kind of have this fan design for my pocket, so I'm going to place my pocket right here. And I'll do the same to the other side and I'll cut two pockets. And then I really like to kind of lay the coat out, put the coat together kind of like this after I'm done cutting it so I can see how it's going to look, where the pockets will go. And then save the rest of your quilt so that you can make a matching quilt hat, because I will have a tutorial for that as well. And before you sew, you're going to want to change your needle to a denim needle. Right, these are some heavy duty needles. Any of these would work really great. I always have a denim needle in my machine, always. Even when I'm not doing quilts, just try it. Trust me. And I forgot to mention that if your quilt is kind of thick or you're worried about it being too thick, what you can do is, where you sew your quilt together, you can iron the seams really flat. Okay? If your quilt is a little thick and you're scared of your needle breaking or not going through, not getting through the material well, just press and iron to the seams, just really flat, so you can flatten that fabric. All right, and then before you start sewing, you're going to want your stitch length to be on your longest length. Mine goes up to 5. So we have our denim needle, we have our stitch length all the way up, and we're ready to sew. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to sew the shoulders together. And how we're going to do that is we're going to put everything front facing, which means the front of the fabrics are going to be touching each other. I always say it's like the front of the fabrics are kissing each other. So like that, basically it's inside out. We're going to put it like that, line these up perfectly, and then we're going to sew this together right here and right here. Also, I do not pin a lot of things that are unnecessary because I feel like just holding these together in place like this is fine, right? We're going to turn it right side out like this. See where we sewed? So we're just going to sew that seam down, and what it looks like is, see how it's like that? We're just going to push it backwards, and then we're going to sew, making sure that we're sewing it down because the coat, all the weight of the coat is held at the shoulders. So we want to make sure the shoulders are really strong. So we're just going to sew that down. And this is what it looks like. So let's get into step 2. This is what it looks like. You have it like this. Flip your sleeve over, match up the pit corner to the corner of the top of the sleeve, pick it up or pin it or pick it up, and you're going to start sewing. And we're going to sew the sleeve all the way on to the other side. And once you get to the middle part of the sleeve, you're going to have to kind of straighten it out and pull it straight. So don't be scared to do that. Just pull it and make sure these continue to be lined up the, the whole way you go. Once you start getting to the end, you might see that you might have a little bit extra of sleeve or a little too, or maybe a little less. Now, because this is a quilt, there's a lot of give. You can stretch it. So if you come to the end of your sleeve and you find that there's not enough to make it, just kind of pull it. Just pull it as much as you can and make it work. And if you have a little bit of extra sleeve, like how I do right here, that's okay too. You don't have to do anything. Just keep going. Or maybe like sometimes I might kind of pleat it. I'll do like a little pleat if it's too long, and it's really not that noticeable. Right, and then when you are done and at the end, check this out. Okay, so we just did one side. We're going to put our coat over. Look at that. Look at that. We just sewed a sleeve on. You did this. You did this. Now we're going to do it to the other side. Oh my God, look at this. We've only done 2 steps and it already looks like a coat. All right, step 3. So step 3 is very simple. I think the illustration basically sums it up. You're going to turn your coat inside out and then sew starting here, going all the way, and you're going to keep going past. You're going to do like a little pivot, like a little sharp turn, and then you're going to drive all the way down to the hem. So our entire coat is inside out or front facing, and we're going to line up the sleeves right here, and then we're going to sew all the way at, again, 1/2 inch seam allowance, sew all the way. Once you get to the armpit, you're going to take a sharp turn, you're going to keep going. Keep going, you don't stop. And then you're going to get to the bottom. Okay, so we're getting towards the bottom part, the hem of the coat, and if this happens to you, which it very well could, it just happened to me, where one side is shorter and you're getting to the end, luckily, again, because this is a quilt or a blanket, it's very forgiving. So what you want to do is you want to start pulling on the short one and kind of just like, this is so unprofessional, but I swear it works, guys. You just want to kind of pull on the short part and then kind of like bunch up the bottom part. Just kind of pleat the bottom. Just put a little pleat in it because you want them to match up. So if it means there's going to be a tiny little pleat in it, that's fine because it's really not going to stand out at all. So here's what I'm doing. You see how it's kind of uneven? I'm just going to push the back up and pull the top part forward. I'm just going to do that. and see if we can see how that's gonna go. Believe it or not, this is how it turned out. Not too bad, not too bad. Especially since I just drafted this pattern today, like free-handed this little baby pattern for this tutorial. All right, now we're going to do the exact same thing to the other side. And just like that, step 3 is done. Y'all, we just did 3 steps, and this is what we have. We are practically done. Okay, on to step 4, the collar. This is the part where you need the video, so this is just a lot easier to show you. So we're going to take our two pieces of collar, and we want them to be front facing like that, because I'm hoping for this part to be the front of the collar that shows. Put them together, and then you're going to sew them together starting right here, and then we're going to go all the way down like this at the very outer edge, sewing them together at about 3/8 inch. Okay, I made a little dotted guide to where we're sewing like that. So now that we have it sewn, we're going to turn it inside out. You want to get those corners out as well as you can, and then we're going to iron the heck out of this collar. We're just going to iron it as flat as we possibly can. Really just kind of let it sit and press. On both sides, fold the edges of the collar in 1/4 of an inch and then iron it all the way around. And I recommend giving it a very good iron again with the edges folded. And this is what it's going to look like when you're done. Now we are going to line our coat up with our collar just like this, with the top of the collar facing down and the bottom of the collar facing up. And what we're going to do is we're going to just move the collar to the right and put this end of the front piece inside of the collar. And we're going to try to line it up to the edge inside the collar as much as we can. And you want to put at least 1/2 of an inch to 3/4 of an inch inside the collar. It does not need to be exactly precise, but as long as we get about that much inside the collar, we're good. Now that we have our front piece inside of the collar where we want it, we're going to pin it in place just like this, and then we're going to sew it on, but only on one side. Only on this side that I'm showing you right here. We are not sewing any piece of the back collar, just the front. So now we're going to put this onto our sewing machine, and we want to make sure that we pull the back of the collar away from the needle. It's going to be a little hard to do at first, but once you do it, it'll be okay, and you're just going to keep on sewing the collar on. And what you're going to do is you're just going to place the collar on top of your coat like this and sew along the outer edge. And it does not need to be perfect because you're not going to see this part of the collar at all. So just lay your collar on top of your coat and sew. All right, so once you start getting close to the end of the collar, the other side, you're going to want to stop about right here and see if the front of your coat is going to fit perfectly in with your collar or not. You might find that you might have a little bit extra length or not enough length, which is okay because again, quilts and blankets are very forgiving. You can pull the front piece and kind of force it to fit inside the collar, or you can scrunch it up. If it's too long, you can just kind of pleat it and scrunch it up. The important part is you just want the ends to meet perfectly, and whatever you have to do that, do it. So we have arrived at the end, and this is what it looks like, pulling it off of the machine. It's looking really good, guys. So now we're going to do the same to the other side of the collar, and you want to make sure that you sew this part really nice because you will see this part. Make sure to just kind of flatten out the collar as you sew. And this is what it looks like when it's done. So let's just pull that out. And in 4 steps, y'all, we have a coat. You can not add buttons to this and just call it a chore coat. A lot of people do that, but not before we add our pockets. So you're going to fold the pocket over at the top by 1 inch, 3/4 of an inch to 1 inch, and sew it across. And this is what it looks like. And then you're going to flip your pocket over and fold the edges over about 1/4 of an inch all the way around. And then press the seams very well with our iron. And then we are going to place our pockets on the coat where we want them to be, pin them in place, and then sew along the very outer edge all the way around. All right, so now that we have the 5th step done, the last and final step is buttons. If you don't have a button option, like a buttonhole maker on your machine, you can use toggles, which are these. And I'm sure you've seen these on coats before, that there are many videos that already exist on how to put toggles on a coat. It is very easy. You don't need any fancy stitching or anything like that. And these are very cheap and easy to come by. So yeah, a toggle is a great alternative to a button if you don't have a buttonhole stitch on your machine, or if you're just so scared of doing buttons, a toggle is great. So how I put buttons on is first, I line my buttons up along the edge. Then I'm going to take a Sharpie and just put a dot underneath every single button. That way I know exactly where I'm going to sew the button on. And then I match the dots up on the other side. Let's talk buttons very quickly. So, all buttons are is one side you sew the button on, and we're just going to sew a button on one of these black dots here, and you sew them all the way down. Hand sew the buttons in. That's the easy part, right? That's very simple. That's the easy part. So the part that we're intimidated by is putting the buttonholes in on our machine, right? Yeah, I know. I was scared of doing that for way, way too long. A great way to learn how to put buttonholes into your coat is to just look up your machine model on YouTube and then type in buttonhole. You will more than likely find a few tutorials teaching you how to use your buttonhole foot. Most machines have something like this. It is to make buttonholes. So I'm going to show you how my machine does it just so you can see how easy it is, because basically the machine just makes the buttonhole. You press your presser foot down and it just sews a buttonhole for you. And that's it. That's how the button is made, okay? The machine makes the buttonhole. You don't do anything. You don't make the buttonhole. The machine makes the buttonhole. You get what I'm saying? So, does that make sense? Once you realize that the machine does all the work, I mean, really, this is a breeze. So I'm going to show you what it looks like when you make a buttonhole. You're going to put it in the little button pocket and you're going to close it. There you go. Nice and tight. So now your foot knows how long the buttonhole needs to be. Boom. Easy. Next, I just put the foot on just like I would my regular foot. Just put it on, and this is what it looks like. Okay. And then my machine has this lever that comes down right here. And we're going to pull that down and put it right there. And then we're going to find out, here's where the buttonhole is on my machine. So mode 1, 24. I already have it on. Okay. I did increase the stitch length, make the stitch length longer. Mine was on 4. I put it all the way on 8 because we're working with a quilt, so you want the length of your stitches to be wider because the material is thicker. As you can see, you can choose to have your buttons going left or right or up and down. Most people do them up and down, but I like to do them going left to right, like this. All right, so I'm going to place my coat. I have the needle right in front of my black dot because this is going to go backwards. It's going to make the buttonhole backwards like this. So wherever you start, it's going to move this way. So I want it to start on the edge, kind of right here. Let me get a little pointer. I want it to start, I want my buttonholes to start about right here, and then they're going to go backwards like that. So I have it in place where I want it, and everything, the lever's down, okay? Everything looks good. I'm just going to press my presser foot, and I'm not going to let go. That's all I'm going to do. I'm just going to press the foot, and I'm not going to let go. And I did not stop. Okay, my foot is still on the pressure foot. It just stopped for me. It did everything. All of that the machine did. I was just holding down the foot. What it looks like, this one kind of came out a little wonky, but it's okay. And you're going to take your seam ripper and you're just going to rip open, literally just stick it through, and you're going to rip this open and make sure not to rip any of the stitches, just in the middle. I can't find my seam ripper. Of course, I lost it on the day I'm filming this, so I'm going to use my scissors to rip the hole open. This is what it's going to look like. I sewed my button on this side. I have my buttonhole on this side, and it fits perfectly. How cute. Try to find a tutorial for making buttonholes on your machine, and then just practice on your scrap quilt. Take a piece of your quilt and practice on that until you get it right, because it's like I said, the machine does all the work. Just do a few test runs on some scrap fabric and you should be okay. So we're done. We're done. You made a coat. I made this baby coat, and you made a coat, a real one. And I'm really proud of you. I told you it was easy. I told you it was easy. Did I not? Did I not? Don't let anyone make you think that sewing things is hard, okay? Please, please tag me in your creation when you're done. Or if you don't want to post it, just DM me. I would love to see your quilt coat. And I mean, if you want to share it with me, I would be really happy to see it. Pattern. Also, welcome to my YouTube. Hi. Yeah, I'm gonna start making YouTube videos and tutorials, like really fun stuff that I don't want to put on Instagram or TikTok. Like it's gonna be more long-term content. And I want all of my tutorials to kind of have the same vibe as my sewing patterns, where it's very much a explain like I'm 5 way of going about things, which is perfect when you're starting out, you know? So, welcome to my YouTube channel, and cheers. Cheers to my first YouTube video and my first tutorial, and cheers to you for making your first coat. Seriously, that is incredible. Enjoy it. My followers on Instagram said that I should put the coat on a teddy bear. I have one bear. This is my one special bear. And guys, check it out. It's not bad. Not me unintentionally making my bear a coat today. So cute. This is him now. All right. Thanks for watching, guys.